So I'd like to welcome everybody. The series of talks that we'll be doing together and discussion for the next 3 Sundays are simple ways to turn anxiety and stress into practice and into an open, peaceful mind and open, peaceful heart. We're going to look at how to use the Dharma, particularly in this moment. So I've had a very interesting time reflecting the past few days. And what occurs to me is that although the circumstances feel wild and new, it's actually a very ordinary moment. When we think of our breath, the fact that we're alive, that we have the gift of this moment, this is what every single moment is like. And now we are slowed down enough that we can really just begin to see and value how perfect this moment is, just as it is. I've been reminded so often that it's actually not a new experience. It feels eerily familiar. And when I examined that, it is like the day I was given my diagnosis for cancer. On that day, all of a sudden, everything changed. I stopped everything. Whatever plans I had for the future were evaporated right in that moment. And I could see that there was a potential for life-changing towards illness, life-changing towards death. And in that immediate, shocking change, there was also a real gift. I could just absolutely see that every single moment was precious. Being able to wake up and see the sun, to see a flower, to see a friend, and that I could feel every single moment of kindness and generosity, and that it was significant, and that it was a shared experience. I could really see how interconnected I was with every single person that sustained me and sustained my life. So I feel that this moment that we're experiencing together right now is a shared alert that life is fragile, we are vulnerable, and we have the opportunity to really pause and reflect and see how we could possibly use this, not only as a path towards wisdom for ourselves, but as a way to connect and be with all the beings on the planet. So I want to share with you the Dharma skills that we can look towards in order to meet this moment with wisdom. So when I was thinking about that, the first thing that came to mind was the Tonglen teachings, because the Tonglen teachings are particularly a way to work with fearlessness. And I feel in this moment, we are all experiencing a kind of anxiety and stress and a fearfulness. So the steps are in the ostensibly simple, but we have the opportunity to really take time and take them one by one and look at them. And if we can do that, we can really start to change how we live our lives and how we hold our minds. So the first thing we really have to decide is, how do we want to live? Do we want to live in a fearful and anxious state? Or do we want to live in peaceful, loving kindness? I don't know about you, but I've been reading the New York Times a lot and listening to the news. And I really see that the habitual pattern of trying to know what's going on is also adding to stress and anxiety. So I have to really look at my actions and say, okay, what actions are leading me towards a peaceful mind? And what actions are actually increasing the fearfulness and the stress and anxiety? And which do I want to choose? And why do I want to choose those steps? I have to really look and see, oh, every time I read an update on the New York Times, I'm actually increasing my stress. and I don't have to check it every single hour, and I don't have to watch the news report every day. I can actually give the time and attention to practice meditation, practice calming practices, and that's actually more in tune with my purpose and how I want to live than in increasing my stress minute by minute. So part of it takes an experimentation with actually looking. So I would suggest that when you check the news, when you check your social media, to really then give a moment to how is your mind and your body feeling when you do that. Does it feel that you're a little more anxious, a little more fearful? Is that actually a true assessment? And then experiment with how does it feel when you're giving a moment to meditation, when you're sitting with your breath or sitting with mindfulness of body. And then compare the two, because we have to actually build a conviction that we want to change our habitual patterns. We have to prove to ourselves that there's a difference. So this proving to ourselves and developing a conviction is really not a simple thing at all, but it's a tremendously useful thing. So we're looking at Tonglen, and we're looking to develop our altruistic compassion and loving kindness, because it's the opposite of fear. No matter where we are, whatever circumstances we're in, if we are in a mindset of altruistic loving kindness, we are experiencing joy. And if we're in the mindset of fear, we're in a prison. So the most wonderful text, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, asks us to really develop that conviction and really look at why it is we value loving kindness, why it's so much more important to us that we can actually change our habit. And I'm going to read you a couple of verses. If with kindly generosity, one merely has the wish to soothe the aching heads of beings, such merit knows no bounds. No need to speak then of the wish to drive away the endless pain of each and every being, bringing them unbounded virtues. This pain-dispelling draught, the cause of joy for those who wander through the world, this precious attitude of mind, how shall it be gauged or quantified? For if this simple thought to be of benefit to others exceeds in worth the worship of the Buddhas, what need is there to speak of actual deeds that bring about the weal and benefit of beings? For beings long to free themselves from misery, but misery itself they follow and pursue. They long for joy, but in their ignorance destroy it as they would a hated enemy. In this way, we can really start seeing we long to free ourselves from misery, but every time we go back to the paper, go back to the news, we are pursuing misery instead of pursuing the joy and the strength of that joy, which comes in how we might benefit others. So how do we start? We start with baby steps. And the baby steps lead to the capacity to benefit others in larger and larger ways. So it's good to ground ourselves, first of all, in the view that perfection, healing, loving kindness, compassion are states of mind. Fearfulness is a state of mind. We choose which state of mind we're enabling and embodying. So that's the view, that this spacious loving kindness always exists within us, and we choose to dwell there or to dwell in other states. And how do we know this? We know this because we can see that all thoughts are momentary movements of mind. It's like sitting in a movie theater. So if you're sitting in a moving theater, you know that it's so simple to be so caught up in the movie that you're actually right there with all of the characters in the plot. It takes over your mind like an inner movie reflecting the outer movie. But at any moment, you can stop and sit in the movie theater and just see that it's a movie. You can see that, oh, it's something that's on a screen, that you can see the light, or in the old days, you used to be able to see the light of the projector hitting the screen. So that's what we're doing with our minds. We're seeing that there are all of these images passing across our mind. And at any moment, instead of being caught up in the narrative, in the incredible story that we build for ourselves, we can just sit back and say, oh, it's just a thought. It's a thought that's moving through, changing, and I can easily switch to a different movie. I can easily switch to just feeling myself sitting, feeling my feet on the ground and my fanny in the seat. I can switch out of the narrative, and I can switch, once we teach ourselves, into a peaceful, clear state of mind. So with that thought in mind, we begin to study the teachings and the practice. So the idea of choosing what state of mind becomes a skill, and understanding our mind, training our mind, becomes a skill we have. I want to read a poem by one of the earliest nuns. This is a nun named Ubsama. How do you cross the flood? You cross calmly, one step at a time, feeling for stones. How do you cross the flood, my heart? You cross calmly, one step at a time, or not at all. So we're going to move through, in the next 3 Sundays, several increasingly more subtle and more thorough steps of practice. The first step today is just becoming committed to learning. We're going to examine our mind's experience and remind ourselves which state we want to embody for ourselves and others. The first step in Tonglen is a really simple practice that Pema Chodron calls just like me. And I was trained at Genpo Abbey in Tonglen, and really find her particular take on it to be extremely helpful. So just like me is a way of, when a feeling that can be overwhelming, of either pain or a wonderful feeling, a feeling of joy, comes into our experience, we take the time to think, just like me, all beings want this feeling. Just like me, all beings want food, medicine, kindness. Just like me, everyone in almost across the globe right now is looking for hand sanitizer, for masks, for stocking up on food. And probably we were all shopping in the past week or two, and we felt that kind of anxiety of trying to make our world safe. So at that moment, feeling that anxiety, feeling that desire to protect the illusory self, we can stop and take a thought of, oh my goodness, just like me, everyone in the store is feeling this. How can I relax and notice that this is a human feeling? It's not just my anxiety, my sense of wanting safety. It's a human, fragile, vulnerable feeling. So just like me, we say, oh, okay, just like me, I and all beings are feeling this in this moment. Can I just take that in and make it bigger than myself? Everyone is feeling this suffering, this stress. can I breathe that in for all sentient beings and breathe out my whole grocery cart? May all beings have access to a store right now. May all beings have access to abundance in the store. It doesn't matter how you imagine what the out breath is. It's a sharing of generosity, a sharing of openness, a sharing of relaxing in the moment, a sharing of switching out of the fear and the anxiety into a relaxed generosity. So it's wonderful to just take a bigger picture and say, this is a shared moment in the human condition. And notice at the same time how it changes our mental state to see it not as my anxiety, but oh my goodness, it's the anxiety of the moment. And to see that in this moment, I can share my grocery cart, my pantry, my warm home, my capacity even to drive to the store, however it is. So I invite you to really step back and think for a moment what your week has been like and how that sense of desire to protect, whether it was shopping for food or trying to get soap, whatever it was that pulled anxiety to you. For some people, it's immediately your job has changed, so that anxiety for support. And to take a moment with that, and let's just breathe it in, knowing that right now, all around the planet, millions and millions of people are feeling that. So just like me, I can feel my neighborhood. Just like me, I can feel my state, my country. And on the out breath, the fresh air of Maine, the sunshine, the full grocery cart, whatever it feels like, relaxed generosity to you. Breathing in the energy and the anxiety of our shared human condition, and breathing out relaxed mental state, relaxed abundance. Let's take a few minutes to just breathe with that. So you're not breathing in more stress, you're not breathing in less stress, you're just recalling what anxiety felt like to you and noticing that it's shared. And on the out breath, whatever generosity in the moment feels like to you. We in Maine are having a sunny day. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we do this, you might find that it's more difficult for you to breathe in, or it's more difficult for you to breathe out. Breathing in the humanness of the stress might seem difficult in this moment for some people. Breathing out, offering even just the fresh air of Maine might feel more difficult. So we just sit with this, noticing, not judging. And this very simple practice can gradually even out so you're comfortable taking in the sense of stress and anxiety that you and so many people are feeling, that I and so many people are feeling, and offering with a fullness of generosity. And you can feel it expanding from your home to your neighborhood. And it becomes gradually limitless. Instead of the map of the virus spreading, we're creating a map of seeing healing and abundance and generosity spreading. And as you're doing this, check in to see what your own mental state is as you're doing it. Can you feel your body relaxing? Do you feel a little more peaceful mentally? Again, I can't emphasize enough how much we have to prove to ourselves that we prefer this to checking in moment by moment with the CDC, with our state new restrictions. Where do you want to spend your day? Of course, we need to check in from time to time, but where do you want to spend your day? Build that conviction. Then the fourth step in this first meditation today is to move this to the physical. Find some way to make an offering today. When I look out in my yard, I see millions of squirrels running around. So just offering a piece of bread to the squirrels can become an offering when I make it bigger to all the people who are hungry at this moment. May the squirrels and all the animals on the planet have food today. May all the suffering beings around the globe have a wonderful piece of bread. So I encourage you to find one simple physical offering that you can make with the fullness of generosity in your heart. All right, now I want to open this to discussion. You can unmute, in the bottom left corner should be an unmute button on your, and some people it looks like an unmute on the side. So do you have any questions or thoughts about how you might use the Just Like Me practice to work with your day or any kind of anxiety that might arise this week?
It's all going to be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely trying moment to moment.
Mm-hmm. Just the simple phrase of "just like me" takes me right into, oh my goodness, many people are finding this stressful. Many people are trying to find their way. And I can breathe in not only for myself and relax myself, but for all beings. Other thoughts or questions?
This was incredibly helpful, Kenmo. Thank you for doing this. It helped me realize how in the past week I haven't been thinking mindfully about my engagement with things like the news, and sort of increasing my own suffering kind of reflexively without really needing to. I don't need to check the CDC or WHO website every 15 minutes. I'm wondering if you have any advice for those of us who get caught up in things and have trouble noticing. Like, is there a way to that you can recommend to sort of catch ourselves in those moments?
I really think by proving to yourself that actually it feels better to you. That when you start thinking about other people, when you start thinking about the shared human condition, when you give yourself a moment on your cushion, it actually brings you an inner peace and joy, and it feels better to you, because we have to want to make a new habit. That to me is really the first step, knowing that actually I do want to make a new habit. I don't enjoy going through the day with degrees of stress and anxiety. And often we're so caught up that we forget what a peaceful moment feels like. So we have to look at that peaceful moment and compare it and say, oh, I see checking the New York Times 5 times a day actually doesn't feel good. And sitting down and imagining healing spreading the world, and offering loving kindness in ways that spread through my neighborhood brings this inner sense of joy and peace to me. So it's what the Dalai Lama calls a wise selfishness. So in order to make a new habit, in order to catch ourselves, we have to demonstrate to ourselves and then build the new habit. And that's why the simple, really, really simple, just like me phrase, if we can start consciously connecting it, then we build a new internal habit that will just take over.
Kenmo?
Mhm.
I had an experience early this morning that I just want to share. In my neighborhood, the elderly qualified to go to the grocery at 6 a.m. I was there. And I felt the pain and sadness, but I forgot to make the offering. May they have this. I mean, on some level I might have, but not enough to shift me out of feeling the sadness and pain and isolation of many very older people who were there. And, I could imagine their predicament. So it's very helpful to talk about this and to enthusiastically. Sometimes there's a piece in my head that goes, how is this going to help everybody? How is this going to really do it? Maybe you could talk a minute about that.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it from 2 perspectives. So one of the things that really struck me was listening to Khandro Rinpoche on Tonglen. And she said something that really, really struck me, that so often we can get caught up in the pain and taking in the pain. And what we don't realize is we're making it about ourselves again. I'm feeling this pain. And so, if it extends, of course it's painful. We want to be able to see the pain, but if we notice we're extending that, then it's becoming about me. And so I found I hadn't thought about it that way, but that became an incredible teaching to me. I'm sorry, what was the second part, Nancy?
Just that I got kind of stuck. Of course, I wished the best for everyone I saw, but I didn't shift out of the sadness. I didn't shift.
Right. And how does it help everybody? So how does it help everybody is also wonderful and complex. So one of the experiences of chemotherapy, when I was that vulnerable, you know, especially towards the end, you become really, really fragile. It was like having no skin is what it felt like. It was the only way I could describe it. You could feel what everybody was thinking. So you may not realize it, but how you're holding your mind is affecting everybody. It's absolutely affecting everybody. Everybody you talk to, and I know a lot of people are connecting with each other, even over the phone and FaceTime and all those things, but how you're thinking and feeling is going out. So that's on a simple level. As we go through this series, I want to talk about 3 Tonglen practices on successive Sundays. We'll get to the capacity that people have to actually take on suffering for others. So if we were to perfect this, we could be working with the suffering directly. But I go back to the phrase from the poem from Upasama, how do we cross the flood, my heart? We do it calmly, step by step. So building the habit of pulling our mind into the space over and over again of loving kindness and transforming the moment that just like me, when that becomes a strength, then we can move to the next step and the next step and the next step.
Thank you.
What other questions or thoughts?
These are really helpful tools. Thank you so much. I have a friend who's been very calm compared to my anxiety. And it's true, that's reassured me so much. And I've learned so much from them. So we do have an impact on others, the action, the words, the thoughts, the communications. I think all of it adds up.
Khenmo,
Yeah.
just wanting to share, it's been wonderful being stuck home and connecting worldwide with people when they chant.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's, you know, recordings and videos and filling my home with chanting. And now I can connect with them in person at the same time, and it feels so much different to know that across the world everyone's doing the same thing at the same time. Of course, then there's that half an hour later when I, of course, scroll through Facebook and check my email and look at stuff that distracts me. But going back to filling my home with peaceful music,
Mm-hmm.
trying to turn off devices is just a daily lesson.
It is. And I would like to see, as we find out that, oh, we all have the opportunity for retreat, if we might
Yes.
want to do a retreat together in a week or so, and really
Oh, wonderful.
a retreat, and we can, you know, really go through all of the sessions of retreat. So let's build towards
Wonderful.
that.
Wonderful.
And one of the things I love is, you know, if we think of a prayer flag and we think of just the wind moving through the prayers on the cloth, and that being carried out, in the same way our mental state is being carried out. So we don't know how, you know, to look at this scientifically, but I know we're contributing to a calming, loving energy just through the resonance that we have.
Hi, Khenmo, it's Joanne.
Definitely agree.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, it sounds someone needs to talk a little louder if you want to get closer.
Hi, Khenmo, it's Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Khenmo, I'm just sitting here in my rocking chair looking out over the Green Mountains, and my heart couldn't be more happy than listening to what you're sharing with all of us. And I just want to share my gratitude. And is that Trisha?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Oh, so nice to see you, Trisha.
One of
Khenmo, I so look forward to everything you're sharing. And it is extremely helpful to me at this time.
And one of the things, I don't know if you've experienced this in stores right now or not, but I noticed I had to go pick up some medicine at Walmart, and I realized I was afraid of the air in the store. You know, there was a sense of not easy breathing, which I would have been breathing just in a normal way 2 weeks ago, but all of a sudden there was a distrust of air. So Joanne, to be sitting in that Vermont mountain, just offering the fresh air, you know, appreciating that you have this incredible sunny day with fresh air. You know, so do I in Maine. We don't have that many sunny days. So spring is coming. We have this gorgeous fresh air, and just sending that out all around the world. The capacity to just breathe in, breathe out, enjoy breathing wonderful, clean, fresh air. Other thoughts or questions? Okay, well, my thought was to keep these short and then build towards a retreat if people feel they're interested. So you can email me if you think in maybe 10 days or so if we'd like to start a 4-day retreat or something like that.
Lovely. Beautiful.
Definitely.
That sounds great, Khenmo. Could I say one more thing before we all sign off?
Sure.
I just want to say thank you for doing this for all of us. I don't know about other folks, but I really appreciate the coming together of the virtual Sangha while we're all in our own solitary places. It got me thinking a lot about generosity, which in Sanskrit is dana, the perfection of giving. And I just want to say to all the other Sangha folks on here that you know, we can also support Vajradakini Nunnery and other organizations to show our gratitude during this time. So if people want to make donations to Vajradakini, you can do that online. It's very easy. And you know, I say this from the heart because I think it's really important that as lay people, we do what we can to support the monks and nuns through this time. So that's my piece. Thanks for letting
Thank
me
you.
say it.
Thank you, Alison.
And one of the things that's really lovely right now that I want to leave you with is Bloom Cam. The cherry blossoms are blooming and they have a camera.
Nice.
All you have to do is Google Bloom Cam and you can watch in real time the cherry blossoms in DC.
Oh, wonderful.
Aw.
They are beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
My
beautiful,
daffodils
Khenmo.
are almost up.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we have a little while. Okay, so let's dedicate bodhicitta, excellent and precious mind. Where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase, higher and higher.
Higher and higher.
So we'll meet again next Sunday, and email me about more about what you would like and how we can move through all of this together.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Khenmo.
Thank you.
Love to
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Okay.